Okay, so let's get started here. I know it's been a while since I've done a Lazer ZX-S video. I've been playing a lot of Gran Turismo 7, actually. But in the meantime, a friend of mine on Facebook managed to procure an actual Lazer ZX-S manual. Right, this here is for the ZXS Evo. It's been very hard to get ZXS manuals, but he managed to do it. Got a couple people well, one guy in particular to upload it to Facebook. So this is helpful because some of the parts are a little different, and it is nice to be able to have the exact references in place. So I think what we'll do at this point is work on the front shock tower and upper suspension setup, which is all of this here. And I think we also need whatever that part is. I forgot the name of it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It's not that. Where'd it go? Where did it go? It's not there. It's the bumper, arms. Oh, that's right. It's already on there. What am I doing? Okay. So, let's see. We got to clean this up. These screws here, maybe I should replace those. But otherwise, it's fine. Okay. So, one thing at a time here. Let's see, how do I want to clean? Do I want to unscrew this? Probably not. We could probably just get away with brushing this off. So, alright, let's start with the towers here. So apparently, the original ZXS Towers are FRP, fiberglass reinforced plastic. They are not carbon fiber, although the front rear piece here, that is a carbon fiber piece, as you can tell from the weave. So they did use some different materials here on the ZXS Evolution. Fairly certain that all of the tower parts, all the plate parts are in fact carbon fiber. So there is a bit of a difference there. So that's one way to tell if you have original ZXS parts. They are FRP. Also, the actual shape of the parts is a little bit different as well. Apparently, the shape of this, the angle of this right here, is slightly different to what you would have on the ZXS Evolution. Let me see if I can actually dig that up, because I do have a bunch of parts here. Let's see. How do I want to do this? I could do... Yeah, okay. Well, these are reproduction parts here, these particular ones, but they do have the correct shape. So just so you can see the difference. Let's see, this plate part here. We get to that side. Okay. So actually those angles are correct. Alright. This one has some extensions though because it's a modified part. So that is the right shape. I thought one of these had a slightly different shape. Maybe it was the tower. No, the towers are the same shape also. Yeah, okay. So I guess it's just the material. Alright. Fair enough. I stand corrected. So that looks clean enough. Let's see, what is that? Alright. So this here, I just want to get the dirt off. You know, these are used parts, and so I typically, for these kinds of restorations, I don't try to make it look absolutely perfect as far as like removing all the scratches and everything. You know, in that case, you're better off just like buying new parts. Restoring parts like this to look exactly new sometimes isn't really possible or realistic. So I just take it apart and clean it up and put it back together. And if something's broken, I replace it. If something's bent, I try to unbend it, straighten it out, clean it up. That's it. That's all it takes. And you'd be surprised. You know, there's a lot of cars that I've done like this where, you know, you get them in really rough condition and all you do is just give them some elbow grease, a little bit of love, and they end up looking great afterwards. And what's interesting is that you get them in rough condition, and because they're in rough condition, they're very cheap. They're not expensive at all because they don't look great. But once you're done, you know, restoring them, even though it's the exact same parts, you just clean them up, it looks like a whole new car. So if you ever sell one of your cars, make sure it's nice and clean. You get more money for it. Alright, this one looks like it might be slightly crooked. Is that right? No, that's okay. Alright. It looks like the previous owner on this one put Lunsford turnbuckles here, just like I did with my ZXS Evolution, which does change things a bit because on the Lunsford turnbuckles, you know, this part here we use the turnbuckle wrench. This is wider than the turnbuckles you would use from the kit that has a smaller width for this section here, and because of that you have more room to thread these two pieces closer to each other. So if you have a Lunsford unit here or something with a wider piece in the middle where you would use a turnbuckle wrench, this part of the upper arm assembly has to be shorter to compensate for that extra width. I did talk about that in my ZXS Evo build. Okay, so this is a 3x20 flathead. I do believe I have that 3x20 hex head. Ooh, it's a hex head. I don't have 3x20 flathead, do I? 3x12 flathead. Alright. Shit. Let's see. Okay. Maybe I have it in here. If not, then I'll have to dig through some other stuff. Yeah, alright. And if I still don't have it, then I'll just have to use the original screws. I just don't like using Phillips screws. I like to replace them all with hex screws wherever possible. It's just better. So let's see, 20 millimeters. That is far from 20. Is there anything in here that's even close? How about this? Nope. It's gonna be longer than that. So this is the bin where I have a lot of modern Kyosho stuff. Like, you know, RB6 parts and laser parts and things. Looks like I don't have 3x20. The tapered head. Okay. So, let's see, is there any other place where I might have that? I kind of doubt it. It is an obscure type of screw. All of these are flathead, but they're not even close to 3x20. Actually, there are some screws in here that might get close, maybe. have here. This is, ooh, there's a 3x20. Alright, can I find another one of those? I don't think so, so I've only got one. Alright. Maybe, let's see. Those are associated standard screws. Nope. Okay. What we got here? Nope. They're also associated. Is that right? Oh no, those are Tamiya, but wrong size. Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'm just gonna have to use the stock screws there, which kind of sucks. Yeah, those are all Phillips head. Wow. Guess for once I don't actually have that screw. Let's see, is there anything in here that I could use? All I want is a hex head screw, the appropriate size and shape. Nope. Yeah, it's just this one guy here, and it's not even black. It would have to be, let's see, there's this one, but that is smaller size. Yeah, alright, whatever. That's fine, I can live with that. Okay. So, at least this screw head is not in bad condition. It's not like it's, you know, worn out or anything. Okay, fine. So, now what we're going to do is we need 3x10, 6 of those. We've already got those on. 3x10 from the back. Oh yeah. Right. Okay, so let's see. Can I could probably put those on from the back. So it's 6, 8, 3x10s. Alright, so we're looking at 3x10 button heads. 8 of them. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. So let's put on, oops, this back unit first. And does it go on in any particular way? No, that is a symmetric part. Okay. So we're going to do this. Yeah, I guess I will have to take this off. Alright. So, gotta get this. And it's 2.5, right? Yes. Okay. He wants to go all the way. Come on, get out of there. Alright. Let's see, let me get the 2. I think that's the 2. Let's put that there. Alright. So now we can put this piece on. Actually, I do wonder if this carbon fiber piece is an aftermarket piece or not. It's possible that it's not. I'm not 100% sure. this. Now, you can tell by the markings on this side, this is the side here that was facing the front bulkhead assembly there. So we can put this back on and put this back in. Oops. Okay, let's see, tighten this down, my hand, good, go back to this, go back to this, alright, we don't need that anymore, so now we're going to put this on this way. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like that. You have to line it up perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tower on and leave a little bit of room so I could fit this in here. Okay, so I'm not going to tighten the front tower down all the way. I will do that afterwards. Let's see. Make sure I get that in the hole. That's what she said. Let's see what's going on there. So it could be that some of the alignment issues between aligning these holes to the bulkhead holes could be related to the fact that this front gearbox comes in 4 pieces. Oops, hold on a second. I'm going to need this. Looks like those screws are going in crooked. This is very odd. So I'm going to straighten those out. Maybe that's moving this whole thing over a little bit or something. Alright, oops, sorry about that. I'm trying to make sure this camera is pointed in the right place so you can see everything, and sometimes I'm not 100% sure if it really is aligned. Alright, come on. No, that's not really going in, is it? Because those holes are not aligned. Imagine that. Okay, let's see if that works. Let's try this guy. Which way am I supposed to go? Maybe up and to the left. Oh, there we go. Okay. 1. 2. Let's see here. 3. 4. Alright, so there should be, well, there's maybe a little bit of wiggle room. That's interesting. So that tower isn't actually sitting flush here. Something's not quite right. Excuse me. Alright, let's see. go. Alright, so now we can try to loosen it a little bit. So here is, if I remember correctly, that bend goes around toward the front. Goes this way. This way. You see the arm is not perfectly symmetric. It bends more on one side than the other. And it's a little hard to tell from this angle if it's on the right way. Now, on the Zxs Evo manual, they are a little better at telling you how to do this. So here it's going to be, yes, I believe this would go on this side. Okay. Then you use plastic colors here on the Zxs Evo, but on the ZXS, these number 45 are the aluminum collars. Number 45. And there's one in the front, but there's not one in the back. This has one in the front and the back, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so what's part 45? Do we even have... Sorry, hold on a second here. Just want to take a quick look. Oh, this particular manual doesn't have the parts list on the back. Okay, so that's interesting. Wasn't expecting that. So the manual seems to show that there's only one collar that goes in on the front, between the front tower and the upper arm, but between the upper arm and the rear section here, there's no collar. Right? On the Zxs Evo, you have a collar in the front and in the back. So I'm guessing there's a mistake here in this manual. Quite possible. Not every manual is perfect. Alright, so now what we're going to do, right, this goes on this side, so we have to, this is going to be fun. Let's see, the default setting I believe is the middle hole, right? I think we need to clean this a little bit, maybe a little bit. Let's see, this will go this way, like so. Yeah, you see that? Of course you need a collar, even though the manual doesn't explicitly describe that for the ZXS. Right, oops. You gotta kind of hold everything in place while you try to slip this collar in, and put that through the hole. There we go. Okay. It's not too bad. Let's see. Ooh, that's a tight fit. Does that do it? I think so. Yeah, okay. Seems to move freely. That's good. I'm going to do the other side. this up too. Let's see. Where is the sock still wet? So when you spray it, there we go. Still stays damp a little bit. Not enough. Okay. So yes, just to reiterate why I haven't made any videos lately, I have been playing a lot of Gran Turismo 7. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but some. I bought it for my PS4. I do not have a PS5. I thought about getting it, but then that's, you're looking at spending $1,000 on a video game system just for essentially one game. I really, you could play, all of your PS4 titles on it if you wanted to, but I don't really see the point. The main reason why you would get a PS5 for any game, especially Gran Turismo 7, is for the load times. Because the PS5 has a solid-state hard drive, which loads levels or racing tracks a lot faster. In a matter of 4 seconds or so, you can load up a racetrack, whereas on the PS4 it takes about 10 times as long. But for me, I don't really, it's not that big a deal because I'm used to, prior Gran Turismo games where it took that long to load a track. So it doesn't really, I'm okay with that. And, is it worth spending $1,000 just so you can have better load times? I would argue no. There would have to be something more that I would have to get out of it. You might say the graphics, but I don't have like an 8K display. I have an older TV that's like 720p, which is still pretty good. So again, I don't really need to spend the money on a PS5. It's not really worth it for now. But anyway, I do like the game. I think the game design itself is maybe leaves room for improvement. The best user interface for Gran Turismo was probably, well, there's no one specific game that had it, but as far as organizing the races goes, I think Gran Turismo 3 had it the best, because all of the races were basically in a single menu from left to right, and you just work your way through the campaign. Here you got to go through like the cafe and missions and all this other nonsense. I don't like that. They're just not keeping everything in one place, essentially. Let's see if we can just do the rear tower. Let's see. Alright, we will take these off for now. And also these. Replace the screws. Replace the screws for here too, perhaps. Alright, so where was I? I was talking about GT7. Yeah, so I've been spending most of my time lately on the license tests. In the past, I think from Gran Turismo 2 onwards, I was able to get all gold on all license tests. So I did it in the GT2, I did it in GT3, I did it in GT4, GT5. I did not buy Gran Turismo 6, because I was rather disillusioned with 5. But in 7, I'm close. I have all gold on all license tests except for S10. I'm about maybe 6 seconds off the pace on that. I just haven't put the time in to really, getting gold on that. And it's really hard because the way they set up that specific test is they put you on a wet track with hard, slick racing tires. I think hard or medium, but they're slick tires. So if you're just slightly offline, it's like driving on ice. It's not a completely wet track. It's a drying track, but that means there's a racing line and it's narrow, and even inside the racing line it's still slightly damp, so you can't just mash the throttle or slam the brakes. You have to be very smooth with your inputs. And that's basically the case with a lot of the license tests in Gran Turismo 7. They intentionally give you a suboptimal tire for the test to force you to really be purposeful with your inputs and not just mash the throttle and mash the brakes and sort of brute force your way around a corner. I like that. It can be a little frustrating from time to time, but it really does test your ability to adapt to the needs of the car, and so I'm okay with that. Let's see. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I really just want to do the tower. Okay. The other, let's say, the other super license tests are not that bad. You know, you're just trying to get a quick lap time, and what I do there is, you know, I pay very close attention to the braking points. So when you're trying to put in a lap that gets you a gold medal, what you're doing is you're not even paying attention so much to the corners. You're paying attention to the braking points, because at some point you memorize the corners, so you know what the track layout is. What you're trying to do is brake at the latest possible moment, and you have to keep a good memory, a good mental note of every corner, where you turn in, where you brake, and usually it's the corners that have like the really high speed, where you're braking from really high speed. There's very little margin, right? You overshoot it just a little bit, you overshoot the corner. Likewise, if you brake too early, you're just losing time. So you have to really focus. And there are some games you can play with certain corners where if you're braking into it from high speed, you don't have to brake in a straight line. You can basically point the car toward the corner as you're braking, and you're braking in a straight line, but it's towards the corner. And that does give you a little bit of extra time, if you will, or it cuts your lap time down a little bit, because you're not cornering while braking, but what you're doing is you're negotiating part of the turn essentially in a straight line while braking from high speed. So by the time you brake, you slow down to the speed that would get you around the corner, you've already negotiated maybe half the corner. So that's a neat little trick that you can use on certain corners. In other corners, you just gotta, you know, figure them out. One of the harder super license tests that, at least for me, was the Laguna Seca test with the Formula style race car. It's not an F1 car, but it's an open-wheeled Formula car. That one was difficult, not because of the car, but because of the way they set up the track. On all the corner apexes, they put this like curb where you can't ride over the curb or it unsettles the car and you go off the track. Real pain in the ass. So, you know, usually if you want to take a corner quickly, you're trying to cut over the curb as much as possible to straighten out the corner. But there you can't do that. The way they set up Laguna Seca in the game, in Gran Turismo 7, it does not allow you to cut the curb in any meaningful way. So you actually have to take an arc around each corner. And for a Formula car where it turns in very sharply, it's difficult. You have to adjust. So that one was pretty tricky. But the really hard one is the last one. That one is a real bear. And it's going to take me some time to figure that out. I know some people, one of my friends has had difficulties with the International A10 test. So you're on the Nürburgring, or at least part of the Nürburgring, with a Mercedes that does not handle well. It's very lively at the rear end, And again, there's not, they're just giving you the wrong tire on purpose. So you have to be really, let's say, you have to use a lot of finesse with your throttle inputs and your braking inputs, but it's still possible. And there's, again, as you do it more, you learn certain tricks. So in that particular IA test, it might be common the first few times you try it to slow down for certain corners that you don't actually need to slow down for. Like the first left-hander in that test, you can actually take almost flat out. But you have to enter it at just the right time. If you don't, then you end up on the grass. Yeah, it just comes with practice. So I'm probably better at Gran Turismo than I am at racing RC cars. I used to be quite good at it when I was in college, and I had more time on my hands to really devote to reducing my lap times. And it was always fun. I'd have all kinds of races with my friends. I'd let them, go. I'd give them a one-lap head start in a better car, and I would just demolish them. It was always fun. Okay, so let's see. Here we need 3x10. 1, 2, 3, 4 for these guys. These screws we're looking at 2.6x12. Do I want to change those out? I know I have I think the 2.6s are in here. These are 2.6x12. Well, I've only got 2 of them. Alright. Fine. I will leave those in there. And so that means I just need the 3x10. And in this case, they might want you to use button heads. Should I use that, or should I use hex heads? You know what? I'll just use button heads. Okay, and then to mount the tower, you're looking at these 4 screws here. Those are going to be 3x8. Okay, let's see, button head or hex head. I will do hex head. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, and before I forget, I do have to tighten this down. The other thing I don't really like about Gran Turismo in terms of the game design is you don't get to spend a whole lot of time with any one car. I've always found that annoying, and that's pretty much every Gran Turismo game is like that, because there are so many cars they want you to experience that you do like maybe 1 or 2 races with one car, and then you've already won another car by the end of that, and so then you got to use that car. So that does get a little annoying. It would be nice if they could find a way to build a campaign that's has you spend more time on one particular car. There are other games that do have that, and I know that Forza is pretty good with that, and others as well. But it would be nice if Gran Turismo could find a way to do that, because they have, basically fewer races than cars. And if you're going to have all these beautiful racetracks and all these really nice looking cars, you would think that you could make the campaign much longer and really make people spend time on each particular car. But they don't really do that. That's kind of annoying. Alright, so these go toward the back, so that means these are going to go this way. Right, that makes sense. Okay. Let's see, what else about the game stands out? And I haven't gotten that far in it. The physics are interesting. They do seem to have changed that. in prior games or prior versions of the game, you can exceed the grip limits of the tires and more or less manage the slide. In this version of Gran Turismo, they have a different tire model, it seems. And so if you, not in every instance, but in certain instances, you can unbalance the car and exceed the grip limit, and the car basically goes beyond your control. Once it starts spinning out, you cannot recover. That's kind of interesting. It's possibly more realistic. And that also, knowing that forces you to be more careful with your throttle inputs so that you don't break the car loose. Which makes it more interesting, because then if you can actually push the car right up to the edge of that grip limit without killing yourself, then you're going to be pretty quick. But it's less forgiving beyond the grip limit, I'll put it that way. Let's see. Okay. So now we can put this on here. Let's see, we'll take this off. We have the 2.5.